this list, in our number 10 spot, we have the Petrified Forest. It sounds like a place from Harry Potter, but it's even more grim. The Petrified Forest National Park is located in northeastern Arizona, and it is the home to one of the world's largest and most colorful gatherings of petrified wood. It looks like a place from Elden Ring, a place I would immediately turn around once arriving, cause nope, no thanks. The area was once a tropical forest that existed over 200 million years ago, and over time, the trees became petrified through the process of mineralization. The park also features ancient Native American petroglyphs, the historic Route 66, and a wide range of wildlife and geological formations. But just don't touch anything, okay? One pile of trees in the area got quite famous over the years because those who took pieces began to suffer terrible fates. Bad luck engulfed them, so much so that many have returned the pieces back to this now famous pile in the Petrified Forest. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Pompeii artifacts. Once a flourishing Roman city located near the Bay of Naples in Italy, that was, of course, until 79 AD. Mount Vesuvius erupted, burying the entire city and its inhabitants under layers of ash and pumice. The eruption was so powerful that it wiped out all of the life within a 16-mile radius. Pompeii remained buried and forgotten for almost 1700 years until it was rediscovered in 1748. Today, Pompeii is an archaeological site that offers just a glimpse into ancient Roman life, with well-preserved ruins of homes, public buildings, streets, artwork, you name it. And there's a great amount of people who steal from this ancient landmark as well. How to get cursed 101, steal from Pompeii. Alright, didn't work out so well the first time. Tourists would steal fragments of monuments, literally pieces of the city. Yeah, I'll just put this ballista ball on my fireplace. That looks lovely. 100 packages a year got sent to the archaeological superintendent, most of them accompanied with a letter explaining the bad luck that occurred. Don't take things that don't belong to you. Cheers. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Black Orlov diamond. Also known as the Eye of Brahma, the diamond is believed to have been stolen from a Hindu temple in India and later owned by a Russian princess, Princess Nadia Orlov. According to the legend, again, take this one with a grain of salt, but those who possess the diamond will supposedly face misfortune and tragedy. The diamond's curse is said to have claimed the lives of multiple owners, leading to its nickname, the Curse of the Black Orlov. Today, the diamond is owned by an anonymous collector and is rumored to be worth over $200 million. That is just beyond me. Who would pay that much for a cursed stone? Guy, read a book. No deal. Nope. No thanks. In our number 7 spot today, we have the portrait of Bernardo de Galvez. Art is subjective, but I never knew it was haunted. My gosh, Bernardo de Galvez was a nobleman and military leader who played a significant role in the American Revolution, widely regarded as a hero for his efforts to aid the American colonies in their fight against British rule. Some believe that there is a curse attached to his portrait. According to legend, anyone who looks directly into the eyes of Bernardo's portrait will suffer a terrible fate. The curse was born during the Spanish-American War, when American soldiers looted Galvez's home in Louisiana and took his portrait as a trophy. Again, how to get cursed 101. Why do we do this? Since then, several people who have come into possession of the portrait or stared deep into the portrait's eyes, which is weird, they have experienced misfortune. One man inherited the portrait from his grandfather and hung it in his home. Not long after this, he lost his job and his wife left him, and the painting saw the entire thing and laughed. Another tale involved a museum curator who displayed the painting and suffered a heart attack soon after. Even those who have seen photographs of the portrait claim to feel uneasy or experience strange occurrences. Should have led with that. Whoops, sorry. Ooh. In our number 6 spot today, we have James Dean's car. James Dean's love for fast cars was well known, sadly because one of them ultimately led to his tragic death at the age of 24. Some are convinced that his car was cursed. Dean's first car, a Triumph Tiger T110 motorcycle, was involved in an accident that left him with a broken leg. His next car, a Porsche 550 Spyder, is the one he famously died in after colliding head-on with another vehicle. That's already tragic. That's dark history right there. But after Dean's death, the Porsche was sold off and quickly became infamous for causing more accidents and death. One of its owners even reported seeing James Dean's ghost sitting in the passenger seat shortly before crashing. That's pretty jarring. The car disappeared from public view in the late 1960s and has since been rumored to be hidden away by collectors who believe it to be cursed. So it's out there somewhere, waiting to be driven again. Another Porsche he owned was destroyed when it caught fire while being transported on a trailer, and a third Porsche he had ordered never made it to him. It was involved in an accident during transport that killed the driver. Whether you believe in curses or not, there's no denying that James Dean's car collection has a dark and tragic history. In our number 5 spot today, we have the DybbuK Box. This small wine cabinet got some attention after being sold on eBay in 2003. The box was purchased by Kevin Mannis shortly after he claimed that the box was haunted and had caused him and his family to experience a series of terrifying events, health problems, and even a little paranormal activity, of course. He eventually sold the box to Jason Haxton, who ended up writing a book about his experience. Yeah, it was that bad. Some believe that opening the box can release malevolent spirits into the world. Its origins go back to a woman who survived World War II, and this came from her estate. The box now lives at the Haunted Museum, and remember that viral video of Post Malone touching that haunted artifact? Yeah, that was this box. Zach Bagans, please keep an eye on this box. Thanks so much. Smash that thumbs up for ghost-proof glass. We love that, okay? Nobody should be able to touch the haunted artifacts at your museum. That's irresponsible. You gotta sign a waiver first. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Basano vase, also known as the Vase of Death. I don't know who would want that. Legend has it that this vase was crafted in Italy during the 15th century and was once owned by a powerful noble family. Tragedy struck though when several members of the family died under mysterious circumstances. At that point, curse confirmed, right? The curse of the Basano vase is said to cause anyone who possesses it to suffer from physical and mental afflictions, sometimes even bringing death. Despite its reputation as a cursed object, some are fascinated. They want the Basano vase. They want to crack the code, break the curse, who knows what they want. A pharmacist and archaeologist, both of these owners died shortly after receiving the vase. The Italian police apparently have it buried in a lead box somewhere, and that's gonna suck when we find it in 500 years, a horrible time capsule. In our number 3 spot today, we have Thomas Busby's chair. Haunted chair. Who would have thought? Legend has it that this chair was cursed by a vengeful witch who had been wronged by one of the members of the Busby family in the 1800s. Yeah, she cursed a chair. Now it slides out by itself. It's terrifying. The curse was said to bring misery and misfortune to anyone who dared sit in the chair, so you better lock those knees up. We're squatting today. Over the years, many brave souls attempted to break the curse by sitting in the chair, only to be met with tragedy. I'll be honest, I would sit on it. I would just have a couple pints and I'm ready to go. Alright? Cursed chair, come on, who curses a chair? A witch. Some suffered from unexplainable illnesses, while others were plagued by nightmares. One man even claimed that he saw ghostly apparitions floating around him after sitting in the chair. Despite its reputation, the Thomas Busby chair remained an object of fascination for many paranormal enthusiasts. It was eventually acquired by the Thirsk Museum, dedicated to supernatural artifacts, where it remains on display to this day. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Anguished Man. Alright? The haunted item. This isn't a list of haunted items without the Anguished Man. I mean, first of all, aside from its dark history, who would be able to look at this? Imagine this on your wall. That's from The Conjuring. That's terrifying to look at. The Anguished Man is a painting with history. It is said to be haunted by the spirit of the artist who created it, a man who mixed his own blood into the paint as he worked. Yeah, real artsy guy. Love doing that. The painting has been passed down through generations of the artist's family, but each owner has reported strange occurrences while in possession of the haunting piece. Some have claimed to hear whispers and moaning coming from the painting late at night, which is the scariest thing I could possibly imagine, while others have just seen ghostly apparitions out and about, just walking around the painting. Like Super Mario 64, just a real life painting. Would you spend a night with this painting? I'm a skeptic when it comes to all things paranormal, but I just don't think I'm ready to take that risk. In our number 1 spot today, we have Robert the Evil Doll. A man named Rob Otto was given a doll that looked a lot like him. One of his servants who didn't like him made the doll. Yeah, you already know where I'm going here. This was a voodoo doll. right? This is obviously a trap. Neighbors would hear Robert talking to this doll. Robert and Robert the podcast, tune in. Now after Robert's death, the new owners of the house found that same doll in the attic. Still there. Well, actually their daughter found it. It was pretty jarring. That family was haunted by this doll and they would hear threats coming from it. So now the doll is on display at a museum in Key West. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have King Tut's cursed artifacts. We will kick off this list in the 18th dynasty. 1332 BC, King Tut was the last of his royal family to rule, and for ages now the pharaoh's treasures, politics, and social status have remained a mystery. Until recent days, it would be extremely hard to get a glimpse at some of the ancient belongings once owned by King Tut, but the new Grand Egyptian Museum has a solution. It was set to open in 2018, then finally come 2021, it did. Now, that's great, that's quite the exhibit, but the contents displayed inside certainly aren't for the faint of heart. For the first time in history, King Tut's ancient belongings, the artifacts discovered with him, will be on display. Prior to the museum being open, we only saw 150 artifacts from his tomb. They took all of the pieces on tour, but now this museum will house thousands of artifacts. The final resting place for King Tut's collection. That's over 7,000 square meters. What a display. Now, when we look back to ancient tombs, we can find many ancient curses. If you have a chance to visit the Grand Egyptian Museum, or if you saw this King Tut world tour, I'm jealous, but please don't touch anything. Just leave ancient artifacts alone, perhaps. The curses belong in history. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Tower of London. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to like this video if you're enjoying it. It does really help us out. I have been here myself. I did a little tour, took some pics. I had no idea how dark the history was here. Kings were beheaded. Queens were horribly beheaded. And on top of the already existing dark history, witnesses also say they've seen an apparition in the Tower of London. A headless ghost, maybe floating around like it's Hogwarts. How jarring is that? Hopefully no one's, just taking their head off to say good day. A common sighting is that of Thomas Becket, a martyred saint, and Anne Boleyn. If you visit the Tower of London, you might catch a glimpse of the second wife of King Henry VIII. Anne Boleyn was found guilty of treason. She had been charged with having sexual relationships with 5 others, including Lord Rochford, aka her brother, George Boleyn. She had also apparently had relations with Sir Henry Norris, the king's groom of the stool, and on top of all of this, Anne was also found guilty of conspiring to kill her husband. Now, it's since been proven that all of these claims were a bunch of rubbish. Anne wasn't even around when all of these things took place. She was still recovering from the birth of her daughter, future Elizabeth I, in October 1533. So there's no way she was fooling around with the groom of the stool. She was kind of busy. All parties involved were executed on Tower Hill in May 1536. Then 2 days later, Anne Boleyn was executed for her crimes. That didn't happen. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Terracotta Army. My least favorite mummy movie, but it's still a good time. Welcome back to Hollywood, Brendan Fraser. Let's go! The tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor, is an unbelievable discovery. In this tomb, we can find 6,000 statues, but they all have unique carvings on their face, as if to suggest these are custom statues accurately representing a soldier. All 6,000. Back in 1974, farmers were digging a well. This was 20 miles east of Xin'an, and they stumbled upon a pit that helped all of this history. We believe that around 700,000 workers were putting together this masterpiece for 3 decades. Archaeologists have discovered 8,000 statues in total, with horses and chariots, the emperor's tomb, of course. A grim detail here is that in the emperor's tomb, streams of mercury were put around the floor of his burial chamber, and in 2005, over 4,000 samples tested positive for mercury, so to this day, less than 1% of the tomb has been excavated. It's simply just too dangerous. The emperor believed that after he had passed, he would have to face the spirits of his enemies, so he wanted to be prepared, even after death. The emperor decided to close the tomb before the workers even had a chance to get out. He was worried that his enemies had found out, so there was lots of statues and dark histories in this one. In our number 7 spot today, we have Highgate Cemetery. Heading over to England yet again, London's Highgate Cemetery is beautiful, but back in the early 1800s, it was booming. The city's population was growing, meaning more people were dying. We needed more land for bodies, graves were being placed in between houses and shops, so Parliament built 7 cemeteries to help out. The third, built in 1839, was Highgate. Come 1854, the cemetery was full. It was beautiful. Everyone wanted to be buried there. An odd desire, but look at it. How inviting is that? It was so popular that they added another 20 acres. More bodies. Let's do it. No worries. Keep piling them on. By the time World War II came along, the cemetery was completely abandoned. In 1960, the cemetery was officially closed. Buildings began to fall onto themselves. The landscaping is just a mess. It certainly looks the part now. Today, many stories are passed around of these men in dark robes. They're said to practice dark rituals in Highgate. It's not uncommon to see apparitions in the cemetery, but red-eyed demons? Highgate is just another level. In our number 6 spot today, we have Newgrange tomb. Okay, time to get wild. Over in Ireland, there's a tomb built by Egyptians. It's called Newgrange. It's as old as the pyramid, so the belief is that Egyptians also built this. It was first discovered back in the late 1700s, but it's been closed ever since. It's a mystery who or what is inside, but the folklore surrounding the tomb is too good not to include on this list. Locals believe the tomb is a gateway to another realm and that it was built by goblins. If and when this tomb is opened, it's believed goblins will come rushing out. Evil goblins, that is. I didn't know that there was another kind. Are there good goblins? Does that exist? I certainly hope that this doesn't happen. Maybe it's Alexander the Great, maybe they buried him impossibly out of the way, or maybe it is full of goblins. I simply just don't know. In our number 5 spot today, we have Bhangarh Fort. Back in the 16th century, King Madho built the massive Bhangarh Fort in India. The population of this small town was around 1,000. It was a beautiful fort. Many considered this place a luxury. Rightfully so though, it looks like a set piece from Game of Thrones. Legend has it that Princess Ratnavati, who at the time was living in the luxurious fort, was the talk of the town. Dudes were proposing left, right, and center. Princes from all over would come in and try to take her hand in marriage. One day when visiting town, a magician saw the princess shopping for perfumes, so he planned on using black magic on the princess. He mixed it with perfume that she was admiring, but it didn't work. The princess smashed the perfume, and as the bottle broke apart, the magician then cursed the entire fort and those living inside of it, which is really the only reasonable response, you weirdo. Only days later, a war erupted around the fort and there were many casualties. To this day, Bhangarh Fort is said to be extremely haunted. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Crooked Forest. Forests are already creepy, but this one looks like it's straight out of a Tim Burton film. The Crooked Forest is in Poland. There's around 400 odd-shaped pine trees near the town of Gryfino. These trees are said to be about 90 years old, and all of the trees from the base, they immediately bend towards the north and then they slowly curved back towards the sky like other trees. Despite this odd bend, these trees are otherwise healthy. There's been so many theories, but none of them really stick. Some suggest it was a gravitational anomaly, but that's a little too far-fetched for me. I don't know. This isn't Interstellar, is it? Other theories claim that there were heavy snowfalls that would weigh the branches down, which could check out, but why is it just a select amount? I've lived in Canada my entire life. I'm from the prairies, like the snowiest of all the places. We have so much snow, and I've never seen a Sleepy Hollow tree. Alright, my favorite theory is that farmers were trying to make the tree curved on purpose to make stronger wheels because the grain direction would make for the natural curved wheels. Again, nobody knows for sure. What are your thoughts? Do we like the wheel theory? I'm gonna keep a spare tree tire just in case. I'll keep it stored safely in the trunk. In our number 3 spot today, we have Houska Castle. According to folklore, Houska Castle, which is located in the north of Prague in the Czech Republic, is built over a bottomless hole that leads directly to hell. The legends claim that the 13th century King Ottokar II offered a pardon to any prisoner who agreed to be lowered into the pit in order to report what was down there. The first prisoner who was lowered into the pit only lasted 30 seconds before he started screaming in fear. Sounds pretty horrible. No way I'd volunteer as tribute. Legend goes that when he was brought back up, his hair had turned white, and apparently he saw these half-human, half-demon creatures that flew through the darkness with scaly wings. The castle was built over the hole without things like a water source or any kitchens, and it is said that this was because it wasn't actually meant to be used by humans, but rather a place to capture the demons should they choose to rise from this mysterious hole. Even demons have a place to crash now. How nice is that? In our number 2 spot today, we have the Turkey Gladiator Arena. Ah yes, another arena, another staple in history filled with gruesome combat in the name of entertainment. Gladiator 2 was confirmed by director Ridley Scott, so who knows, there's a chance we may see another Gladiator arena like this one in the sequel. An 1800-year-old arena was discovered back in 2020 while we were all stuck inside watching Carol Baskin. They found another Gladiator arena. This is so exciting on one hand, but the history that lies here, not so pleasant. Its purpose was thought to be the same as the Colosseum, to host these massive professional gladiator bouts with wild animals making a cameo here and there. This arena was active, we guess, around 200 AD when the Severan dynasty was ruling the Roman Empire. If betting on animal fights was your thing, you'd travel to this place. Hope you have trail shoes and great knees. I'm weak just looking at those hills. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Valley of the Kings. We started off this list in ancient Egypt, so we might as well finish there. After all, when it comes to ancient mysteries or ancient curses, Egypt still has so much to offer. It is said that any thieves who dare enter or disturb the slumber of the deceased kings shall be cursed and shall perish. Well, this applies to archaeologists too. Howard Carter and his team back in the 1920s had come across the discovery of a lifetime, finding the tomb of King Tut, launching the study of Egyptology. We're still finding tombs in Egypt to this day. That place is a literal treasure chest. The thing is though, after the discovery, some researchers on Carter's team started to feel under the weather. Maybe there was a bug going around, maybe it was too hot, or maybe it was just the curse of the pharaohs. Some men on his team perished from blood diseases or undisclosed circumstances. Many of these ancient tombs have warnings, and I think it might be time we start listening to those.
Kicking off our list at number 10. Israel Cursed Tomb. Here we go, right off the hop. A secret tomb was discovered in Israel only a month ago. Now this is the first time a tomb has been found at the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 65 years. Now the actual cave itself was discovered only a year ago, but these smaller chambers are being found recently, as like a month ago recently. And the tomb found came along with a message. Awesome, we love those. It vows to curse anybody who would open the grave, and this message is also written in blood red, so yeah. Can we not open this one, maybe? Last time we had a black sarcophagus in Egypt, people were sticking their heads in for no reason, just to see what's up. And then, a plague happened. So, number 9, Polish King Curse. Some of you may remember this, or your parents might so ask them about this at dinner. Yeah, make it weird tonight. Ask them about a Polish king curse tonight while you're eating food. Back in 1973, a team of archaeologists were jazzed when they uncovered an ancient 15th century tomb. The tomb of the Polish king at the time, King Casimir IV Jagiellon. Now media was of course all over this discovery, as they should be, it was exciting. Now everyone was of course making jokes about a curse. You kinda have to, right? We're all thinking about it. What if there's a curse? I don't know. Open it though, still. Some team members involved ended up dying after the discovery. It was a little odd. There were a few who said it was due to a curse, but the sudden illnesses were in fact caused by deadly fungi inside the tomb. So it still was the tomb's fault, but it wasn't a curse per se. It was breathed in, and that's what led to these researchers' untimely death. Number 8, King Tut's Curse. Here we go. Since we're on the topic of illnesses or curses, let's go back 50 more years, shall we? To the legendary discovery of King Tut's tomb in 1922. This discovery is what made everyone, so paranoid when that Polish king curse came out, right? This discovery and what followed is the main reason we believe in mummy curses today. One member of the expedition, George Herbert, passed away suddenly 6 weeks after they opened King Tut's chamber. It was not toxic mold, it wasn't a curse, but rather it was a mosquito bite on the cheek. He got blood poisoning from a mosquito bite, that's all it was. I mean, I'm sure digging up bodies from the past and opening the tombs up doesn't help karma in general, but it wasn't a curse written in red. Not this time. Number 7, a strange resting place. Ancient burial grounds. Okay, these tombs, they come in many different shapes and sizes. Some can be these massive Great Pyramids, and others can be a shallow cave system. Sometimes there's ancient history right below your feet, and you'd never know. In St. Augustine, for example, the remains of a donkey were found buried underground. And judging from the skull and the bones and the placement, something was afoot here. It had clearly been hunted down by humans and placed there purposefully. That's not the mysterious part at all. The mysterious part is that all the bones have been carefully separated and there's no marks to suggest that any tools were used. So researchers believe that this thing wasn't even used for food. So what was it? The limbs were placed to point north and south. That's it. They used this donkey as a compass. How rude is that? What? Donkeys in that area of Florida in the 17th century, that's not bizarre at all. But the way the bones were buried, north and south, that's very odd. That's very Game of Thronesy. You know what I'm saying? What's the message here? What's the point? What's the point? Besides north and south, of course. Number 6, Tortoise Tomb. Okay, somebody called Mario. We got a lot of shells to explain. Okay, pal? Back in 2005 in northern Israel, a tomb of a shaman, who we believe was a 45-year-old woman at the time of her passing, was found in a cave. It was a cave/tomb. Like I said, many different shapes and sizes. There were 28 other skeletons as well, and it appears they had a 6-stage burial. There were beautiful decorations to suggest such, but something that really stood out here were the 86 tortoise bodies discovered in the corner of the tomb. What was going on here? What did we miss? I have FOMO, but I'm not sure why. Was this an ancient feast or a long-lost sacrifice? Either way, poor guys. Number 5. The Sitting Man. Okay, of all the tombs to find, this one would be the most horrifying. This would be so jarring to stumble across, okay? Buckle up. Back in 2005, researchers found a Mayan tomb in Honduras from the 5th century, okay? It's a long time ago. And the body inside was not lying down. It wasn't a pile of bones pointing east or west this time. Rather, it was in a chair, sitting up, like a villain from Zelda. How scary would that be? I mean, it's beautiful, but that's jarring to stumble across, you know what I mean? Whoever was the first person to look and see that, brave soul, that's all I'm saying. The body found, it appears to be an elite member of the Mayan Empire. He passed away, we think, around 650 AD. Yeah, the guy gets propped up in a chair. That's awesome. His legs were crossed and he was rocking jade jewelry. This was very royal. And the tomb itself was actually upright as well. It's common fear to be buried alive, but in this case, you'd have plenty of room. You'd be like, oh, we're good. These types of tombs are actually quite rare to find, but the fact that this one is also in great condition and there's somebody sitting cross-legged inside, double rare. Here we go. Number 4. The Terracotta Army. This is, talk about curses. Oh boy. The tomb of Emperor Qi Shi Huang, China's first emperor. Okay, in this tomb, we can find 8,000 statues. This one is quite loaded. I almost made this number 1 just out of principle. But they all have unique carvings on their face, as if to suggest these are all custom statues, all representing an individual from that long ago. All 8,000 of them. The emperor believed that after he had passed away, he would have the spirits of his enemies to face, so he wanted to be prepared even after death. The emperor decided to close the tomb before the workers even had a chance to get out. It was horrible. He was worried his enemies had found out, so there's of course lots of statues down there and a lot of dark history, just all piled into one. I would never go near this. I think the Mummy 3 is about this tomb. It didn't do so well, but yeah. Scary concept. Number 3, message from Egyptian afterlife. We're all curious what happens after you die, of course, but nobody celebrated the end of your days like ancient Egyptians did, right? It's beautiful. Like I've mentioned before on this channel, they would have these fake painted doors. They would leave valuables. Any new tomb that we discover provides more hints as to what lies beyond, right? An ancient necropolis was discovered only a few years ago, again in Egypt. It contains dozens of coffins and a necklace that holds a message from the afterlife. Okay, now we're talking. This site is around 2,000 years old, and they're in the process of excavating it as we speak, / as I mansplain to you about these tombs. But so far the tombs and artifacts found, officials think, belong to an ancient priestess. A message from the afterlife is pretty spectacular, but what does it say exactly? Well, we're still waiting to find out. These things take time, you know? Number 2, mythical carvings. Back in 2014, a 1,700-year-old cemetery was discovered along the Silk Road, which are these ancient ancient highways rather, connecting China and the Roman Empire. Now in the city of Kucha, now in northwest China, the cemetery was found along with 10 ancient tombs, one of which was referred to as M3. M3 didn't have any haunting messages this time around, but it did contain several carvings of mythical creatures. Creatures that were once alive? Question mark. There's the white tiger of the west, the black turtle of the north, the vermilion bird of the south, so far so lovely, and then there's the azure dragon of the east, a little bigger, a little bit more mighty. These mythical carvings represent different seasons and the heavens, but could the other 6 carvings mean depictions of hell? Probably, possibly. And finally, number 1, the Ring of Secinianus. One ring to rule them all. And by rule, I mean curse you and your entire family. Don't touch this. This is why you don't steal from ancient tombs. Has to be number 1. This 12-gram gold ring, for starters, looks beautiful. And secondly, it's massive. Its diameter was 25 millimeters, so unless you were wearing some sort of infinity gauntlet, she's probably gonna fall off your little Jack Skellington fingers, you know what I mean? The ring had first been found in 1785. A farmer was plowing a field in Silchester Village, a village west of London known for its grim history, because in 45 AD, ancient Romans invaded that site, and come the 7th century, it was completely abandoned. and probably pretty cursed. The ring was mighty and even had an inscription on it, a Latin inscription, of course. It read, Secinianus vivas indium. And when 1929 rolled around, new details surfaced, or resurfaced rather. The data from the ring matched an excavation that was done in the early 1900s less than 100 miles away, in a place called Lydney. That's where this ring is from. At the same site, however, a tablet was found recalling the Celtic god of healing and hunting, and how his favorite ring got stolen. I'm connecting some stories here. Uh-oh, I may have stolen something I shouldn't have. If this rings a bell, yes, Lord of the Rings was inspired by this exact legend. The tablet also says, may he who bears the name of Secinianus not have health until he brings the ring back to the Temple of Nodens. Yeah, let's get that ring back ASAP Rocky. That would be great. I'll be a lot quicker than Lord of the Rings. I'll be a lot quicker than 3 movies. I'll tell you that. Where's this temple? I'll put it in my Uber right now. I'm on my way. Number 10. The DybbuK Box. Okay, we'll start this list off with a DIY. Yeah, here we go. This is why you should never, ever make your own Ouija board. Don't even think about it. In Jewish folklore, a dybbuk is an evil spirit. A Jewish survivor who made it through all the horrors of World War II and everything. The legend has it that said survivor managed to trap a demon inside of a wine cabinet. Now that on its own is terrifying. So now what? What do you do? What do you do with a locked away demon? Well, that's where Kevin Mannis comes in. Yeah, Kevin bought the box in 2001, and as soon as he bought the box, he had these vivid nightmares. Nightmares of an old witch, and his friends who hung out with him also had the same nightmare. So yeah, not great. Haunted by association. Not great at all. Mannis gave the box to his mother for some reason. He thought this was a better plan than, burying it in a cornfield or throwing it into the ocean. But he passed it along to his mother, and apparently she had a stroke the very next day. Almost like it was indeed haunted. The last owner, Jason Haxton, director of the Museum of Osteopathic Medicine, he sealed the dybbuk back in the box and then hid it from the world. Great move. Finally, nice. We love that. That's a smart move. Number 9. Cursed brick. Perhaps one of the least terrifying items on this list, but haunted nonetheless. The brick from the Borley Rectory, aka a brick from one of the most haunted houses in all of England. The house was originally built back in 1862. It was a house built for the rector of Borley, but after a fire in 1939, it was never the same. It was now haunted. But it was finally demolished in 1944. Gone. Good. Poof. Good. Get this thing out of here. But before its final days, the Daily Mirror printed about this house. Harry Price, a paranormal researcher at the time, he reported sightings of a ghost nun or a ghost car driving by that same property, as well as footsteps and unexplained sounds all around it. So yeah, a little piece of this haunted home still sits in the Warren Occult Museum today. The haunted brick from the old haunted Borley. The haunted brick? I don't know. This one's not scary. I want to see this one in Conjuring 4, I bet. I don't think we're going to see this one. Number 8, Werewolf Paw. Okay, this one we did see in the live-action Conjuring universe. In Annabelle Comes Home, we see in the museum a werewolf paw sitting on a shelf. Then later on in the movie, we see a real werewolf outside of the Warrens. Now, this is most likely a nod to a London case involving the Warrens, which happened in real life, where a man was behaving like a werewolf. Yeah, he would just flip and then become one. Not physically, obviously, that would be kind of terrifying, but he would use his fingers like claws and he would growl and he would attack people on the streets of London, like he would act like a werewolf. This man was William Ramsay, and the Warrens believed that this was the same spirit responsible for transforming humans into wolves back in the day. Yeah, the old classic lycanthropy. We love that. In 1989, the solution was for Ed and Lorraine to bring Bill to the States, where Bishop Robert McKenna performed an exorcism, turning the man back to his regular non-werewolf self. So if you see a paw, still attached, not attached, just don't touch it. I don't know, paws are gross in general. Like a brick versus a paw, Gross. Number 7, Dante and Virgil in Hell. Okay, we're gonna crank it up a little bit. Going back to some artwork, some haunted, spooky art. Here you go. This terrifying work of art was created in 1850 and is currently on display in Paris. This painting is depicting a scene from Dante's Divine Comedy, which is basically about Dante being taken on a journey through hell with Virgil showing him the way. The painting shows a certain scene where Dante and Virgil are witnessing damned souls intertwining in eternal combat. You can only imagine what that looks like, or smells like. Probably not a good one. One of the souls was believed to be a heretic, which is now, how he landed into the underworld. And the other soul we see in the picture, who's, biting his neck, was thought to be a man who falsely claimed another man's inheritance, which certainly is not a good thing to do if that happens in real life. Consult a lawyer, maybe, don't be biting anyone's neck. There's some obvious possessions in this picture. The painting also features some sort of terrifying creature flying in the background. That's always fun, just a cameo, a nice dragon cameo, as well as a lot more damned souls fighting in the fiery pits. Yeah, these pits are often full of souls. Full o' souls. This whole painting is just a stunning piece of art as well as an absolute nightmare, so Yeah, art. It's nice and balanced, you know, as all things should be. Number 6, the Nightmare painting. Another one, just while we're on the arts vibe, you know, the artsy vibe. The Nightmare was created in 1781, and there's a lot going on in this one here. The painting shows a woman who is fast asleep with her arms thrown out below her, which is all fine and well and dandy, but there's also some sort of demon, incubus thing sitting on her chest. It's always something, right? You always gotta mess up this nice image, this beautiful, lovely image, which is, you know, a weird thing to look at. The painting is said to display a woman dreaming and also the nightmare she is having at the same time, which is, you know, that's art, that's fun, that's an eerie description. There are red velvet curtains hanging in the background with creepy horse heads poking out of them, which is also said to, you know, help them into the nightmare vibe. The colors represent so much of what's going on in this painting, with the sleeping woman being brightly colored and shown and the rest of the painting being much darker in contrast. It's kind of haunting to look at, honestly. Makes you feel weird looking at it, but you know what? That's art. Number 5. Cursed goat. Yeah, a cursed animal, let's do it. The curse of the billy goat. Can an entire team be cursed? It seems so. I mean, I live in Toronto, home of the Maple Leafs, so, you know, seems pretty cursed in this area. We haven't seen a win in, I don't know, 96 decades. But the Chicago Cubs curse, that was a huge deal for a long time. The Chicago Cubs curse comes from 1945, when a man named Bill Secinianus, nicknamed Billy Goat, he was kicked out of a Chicago Cubs game. Why, you ask? Well, he didn't even get into game 4 to begin with because, well, was he too intoxicated, or did he bring a live goat with him to the game? Maybe a bit of both, who knows? Yeah, Bill brought with him his pet goat for good luck. So after the staff said no, you can't, you know, enter the 1945 World Series with a live goat, of course not, he then cursed the club over and over on the way out, saying the Cubs are never gonna win another game. And that was the game they dropped the ball, figuratively and literally. The Detroit Tigers won, and the curse of the Billy Goat kicked off. It got so out of hand that come 1994, great year, the Cubs had lost 12 games in a row, their worst home start in history. So Sam Secinianus went to Wrigley Field, he went back, and everybody was chanting to now let the goat in. And then the Cubs won 5-2, so I don't know. Humans in the 1700s were like, yeah, that woman's cursed, let's just, you know, hang her. And then this is like, yeah, he's not cursed, let's bring him into the Wrigley's sports field, let's do it. Oh, how times have changed. Insane. Number 4, The Dark Mirror. Wasn't this the second Thor movie that like nobody liked? The Dark Mirror is part of a fun little collection, the world's only mobile museum of the unexplained. Nice. Get your haunts on the go-go. This mirror supposedly doesn't shine bright like a diamond, but instead this dark mirror has a life of its own. The museum obtained it from the original owner who purchased it at a psychic fair in the Columbus area. Pretty solid place to get something like that, so yeah, it checks out. That same owner said the mirror reflected horrifying visions when gazing into it. Now, according to the museum, visitors also claim to have reported uncomfortable sightings, such as their own corpse when gazing into the reflective glass. Yeah, no spoilers, mirror. I'm only on season 27 of my life. I don't want to see how it's gonna happen. I had a crazy dude downtown tell me which day I was gonna die in like grade 11 on a field trip. He was like, in 7 years, you will die. I'm like, okay. And I was scared for 7 years. Was that a curse? I think that was a curse. Number 3, the Busby stoop chair. Yeah, we gotta include a haunted chair, whatever. We threw in a brick, some pieces of art. Why not? Let's throw in a Busby stoop chair. This chair comes from 1702, 10 years after the Salem witch trials, so take this one with a grain of salt. People made odd choices back then. Women were witches and chairs were evil. Welcome to 1702. Hit that thumbs up. Englishman Thomas Busby had some issues with his father-in-law and he didn't handle them too well, so now he has to be hanged for it. Yeah, you can't just kill people for no reason, Thomas. What is this, 1692? Idiot, read a book. He was hanged near the Humble Inn, pretty ironic, but a chair that was nearby is now said to hold that spirit of one Thomas Busby. Yeah, if you stood on this chair, you were set to die in a frightful accident. If you stood on this chair, you were set to die in a frightful accident. Nice, a nice frightful accident. You can only imagine. The horrors. You're actually at a haunted desk in this office. That's actually where I'm sitting. Kyle, you're at the haunted desk. I don't want to tell you that. So the chair was declared haunted, but did anything actually happen here? Honestly, yeah. Locals said during World War II, airmen from a nearby base came to the pub, and those who sat on it never returned. I mean, may have had something to do with the war, but sure, like I said, grain of salt. But then in the 70s, more accidents were connected, but they still kept it around until 1978 for some reason, yeah. It stayed in the inn for that long, until it was donated to the Thirsk Museum. It's not even a rocking chair either, it looks like an uncomfortable chair. Why people would sit on this in the first place, I don't know. Number 2, the underworld. I'm not necessarily sure if I have to explain this one and like how it's haunted, because the name kind of carries it for itself. This painting by Hans Memling was created in 1485, and it's, as its name hints towards, a little bit terrifying. This is one of 3 double-sided panels that were created, and it features a banner that reads, "There is no redemption in hell." Nice. I always wondered, now we know for sure, thanks. 1485 education. The painting features some sort of demon creature with fangs and bat-like wings, real comforting to see at 2 a.m. And then it features another entire face on its belly, which I've never seen before. That's very artistic, I love that. Its hands and feet are claw-like, and it's depicted stepping or dancing on the backs of people who are in the mouth of some sort of beast. Of course, also engulfed in flames the entire time. Obviously. This whole painting is absolutely terrifying to look at, especially for those who believe in the existence of hell. It would be extremely interesting to know exactly where these inspirations for this piece came from. Is it from a believer, a non-believer? I'm curious, how do you think of something and then go, oh, nice. And then for like 46 years, work on this haunting image. You know what I mean? Number 1, broken mirror history. Okay, we gotta talk about why this happens. It doesn't matter who you are, you've heard of this one before. You break a mirror, what do you get? You get a broom first, obviously. Then you get 7 years of bad luck. Has this ever happened to you? If so, what year are you on? I'm on like year 5 and 3 and 7. I'm clumsy, I don't know. Ancient Romans believed that the human soul would renew every 7 years. That's where the whole 7-year thing comes into place when we do this. It takes time to repair the human soul, apparently. That combined with the belief that a mirror's reflection was the only way into the soul, well, now we have one guy historically who feels really bad for breaking a mirror. Therefore we have a curse that lives on. And we still talk about it today. If you break a mirror, you're tearing the soul from the body and you're abandoning it. That's what you're doing. Yeah, you're not messing up your living room, you're abandoning your own soul. Tell your dad that next time you drop something. In Kazakhstan, if you break a mirror, evil spirits will haunt the person responsible for said damage. Nice, that checks out, that makes sense. They say you can't look into the broken mirror pieces afterwards because that is also bad luck as well. So if you break a mirror, you gotta just kind of do nothing about it. I don't know. Just gotta kind of sweep without looking at it. You're like, I think I got them all. I don't know. Just watch your feet. Wear flip-flops for a week. I can't look down. There's too many mirrors now, honestly. Everywhere I go, it's just reflections. There's like mirrors in the back of people's phones. Ancient Romans had no idea what 2022 would look like. Do phones count? If so, I'm
Starting with the painting of Maria Ivanovna. So I want to start by saying I love this painting for one super noticeable reason, or at least noticeable to me, and that's her face. Her features and facial shapes are ones often not seen in paintings from this time. Usually the women are all looking very similar in their features, their foreheads, their complexions, even their expressions. She's got character and a realness about her that makes this painting capture a photo-like essence. Also her coy narrowed side eye, the slight smirk, she knows what's up with you. I gotta assume this Maria was a baddie. At least before she passed from tuberculosis, quite shortly after Russian artist Vladimir Borovsky painted it in 1797. In fact, it's her premature death paired with her unique candor in the painting that feed into the belief that it causes bad luck to those who look at it. That this painting had some sort of power that could cause the death to any unmarried young girl. People have blamed the painting for a bunch of tragic deaths of young girls that have happened around the same time that it was circulating homes. And now the common belief is that their souls are trapped inside this painting by an evil spirit. And now another beautiful lady portrait, Marie Laveau. And her side eye is a lot more intense. It went from sultry I have a secret smolder to auntie ready to catch you doing something you shouldn't. This image is carefully on display at the New Orleans Historic Voodoo Museum, where some people say that they can feel Marie's cold eyes watching them, and others say that once you see this image, the Marie will haunt you and even show up in your nightmares. As cheesy as that may sound, the tour guides do say that whoever wishes to see the painting must go alone, as they refuse to go see it themselves. And in my opinion, it's pretty prominent and safe to say that there's something to believe if the staff is uncomfortable. Think about it, they're there every day. If they say something's up, I'm gonna believe them. Some visitors have even claimed that when they take a picture of the painting, their photos won't develop. Maybe that's fair though. If you sat that long for a painting, you don't really want somebody to just snap a 2-second picture of it and just go. So, and now for yet another lady portrait. It's mostly those, and this one is Henrietta Nelson, and I hate it. I just do not like it. Nothing about it is good or right. It's all pale and washed out, and not to get some mojo put on me, but she's looking a little dumpy. Little like a wet, soggy potato. Pruny from water, finger energy, if one could say. It was painted by William Johnson in 1780, and when Nelson, depicted in the painting, died in 1816, she was buried in a mausoleum at her home rather than the family tomb per her wishes. When her estate was sold, the new owners demolished the mausoleum and moved Nelson's remains to a church. According to legend, that is when Nelson's spirit began to roam. Some claim her expression in the portrait changed at times, or that they saw an apparition of her wearing the same clothing as in the painting. Brian Hall, the longtime owner, claimed that Banningham Rectory felt empty after the painting was stolen one night, as if her spirit had gone with it. The portrait of Henrietta was finally returned to its rightful home after 7 years. It's now once again in circulation though, as Brian Hall eventually sold all of his haunted artifacts at the age of 82 due to his ill health. Let's get reflective. The Rokeby Venus. Secinianus. This Gothic masterpiece is riddled with drama and poetry. As an art lover, I can say I'm a big fan of this piece. Nudes were banned by the Spanish Inquisition at the time that Diego chose to paint this masterpiece, so it's a mystery to us why he chose to risk his reputation, his class, career, and dare say even his life on painting this. It's said that this is one of the only Venus paintings where it's Venus in the mirror as the concept to not see her face in the reflection clearly or accurately, feeding into curse ideology with its abnormality. The first mention of the curse happens with the 13th century Duchess of Alba, Marie de Silva, who's believed to have taken her own life due to looking at the painting every day and being reminded of beauty aging away. The next owner was part of Napoleon's army, whose vanity and ego caused him to desert and disappoint his peoples, and he left the painting when he abandoned his country. Any owners of this piece have always mysteriously become sick or were outright killed. The painting is purchased by the king eventually and put in display at the Art Gallery of London, where its vandalism resurged the ideology of a curse. No museum in history has been able to hold on to this piece as workers and visitors become unhinged and even attempt to destroy the display. At one time, a female visitor managed to slice the painting 7 times with a knife. Next is the Soul Bowl, which is so fun to say, love that energy. So this painting made waves online when it was posted on a website called Trade Me, the user listing it as haunted and wanting it gone ASAP. Having been bought in an antique shop in New Zealand, the artist is unknown. As you can see, it's got an abstract red background with a frankly dinky ass bowl painted kind of centerfold. Along the sides of the canvas, the artist had written, "The shape of my soul is a bowl." This looks like someone's DIY in my opinion, or maybe like a wine and paint night your mom and her friends went to do. I'm not really pissing myself over it, but apparently after they brought this painting home, scary things did start to happen. She claims that some nights the painting would fall off the wall. She also claims that another night she saw a dark silhouette go from her bedroom to the painting. After numerous other paranormal encounters, she decided to sell it. And now for, you guessed it, a portrait of a lady. Quite literally, that's its name, at least now. When it was painted in 1890 by Juan Luna, he named it Paz Pardo de Tavera after his wife, whom supposedly the depiction, Paz, who Juan Luna killed, possibly while still finishing the portrait, and that Juan was acquitted on grounds of temporary of insanity for doing. On September 23rd of 1892, when Paz refused to open the door of the second floor bedroom where she was with her son and her mother Juliana, Juan got his gun and after pounding on the door incessantly and seeing Paz's brothers coming to her rescue from across the street, he fires at Juliana and Paz, who would die from her wounds a few days later. According to legend, the painting is now possessed by the spirit of Paz, who brings misfortune upon its owners. Past owners have died in car crashes, been forced into bankruptcy, experienced miscarriages, among other reported sorrows. As to where the supposed curse of the portrait of a lady came from, that remains a mystery too. Did Luna, in his desperation, curse the painting? Was it the portrait present at Villa Dupont during the deaths and by some black magic imbued it with the tragedy in which it passes on to every home it finds itself in since? It seems that this stunning art piece, one hard to hold the intensive gaze of, truly lives on. During the opening night at the Met Gala, the spotlight for the portrait of the lady exploded and all the other lights were fine. I will say, this is the most beautiful and enchanting painting on our countdown by a landslide. And now the story of the Martini Man. We love a creepy Reddit story, especially one that can strike close to home. The reason it may do that for you is this story is about a painting by an artist who only ever really paints one thing, a martini bartender, over and over. They're all slightly different, but they're not impossible to find or come across. I've actually seen them myself. The story goes that 5 guys move into a college house together, buying furniture and decor. One roommate brings home this painting. I hate it. 0 out of 10. Frat boys have the worst decor taste, as always. Most of them felt weird about it right away, validly so, as activity started fast for them. Apparently you could feel or even sometimes see its eyes follow you, feel a presence or touches on your arms. After a month it escalates to doors slamming and aggressive knocking. Footsteps can be heard walking in the kitchen and then suddenly in the upstairs hallway or running up and down the stairs. One of the roommates moves out and takes the painting with him and figured he'd donate it to the bar he works at. Then they apparently also experienced paranormal activity and ended up throwing it out. As mentioned, if you research the artist Will Refuse, it shows that he actually paints a lot of the same thing over and over, and it always involves some sort of ventriloquist looking person with different variations of this bartender cooking photo. The one you see on screen is the one our storyteller feels to be the most similar to the one they had owned. Up next we have our Rain Woman. This is a paranormal story classic, so you may know it. It starts 6 months prior to the creation of the painting in 1996, when artist Svetlana Telets felt like she was being constantly watched. One day she's sitting in front of a blank canvas when a clear vision of the final painting appeared to her after some artist block. Feeling as if someone was controlling her hand, she sketched the composition for 5 hours and then spent another month refining the details. After displaying it in a local art salon, multiple people successively bought her painting, only to return it to the seller after describing a figure following them in their homes and their dreams. Owners who bought this painting reported insomnia, fear, unexplained sadness, and even the feeling of being watched while in the vicinity of the painting. One temporary owner described white eyes appearing everywhere he looked and returned the painting with an offer to pay back half of the purchase price, fearing he might drown in the eyes if he kept it for any longer. The piece was eventually purchased by a musician named Sergei Skavkov in 2008, though reportedly his wife later hid the painting after seeing ghostly figures walk around their apartment at night. The cursed paintings of Arshile Gorky. This isn't even one painting either. This guy was popping out cursed paintings like bunnies. The paintings of Arshile Gorky, created between 1904 and 1938, are long since rumored to be cursed, with paintings reportedly falling from walls, catching on fires, and owners being visited by a black-haired ghost in a blue overcoat. In one case on March 1st of 1962, a plane with 87 passengers, 8 crew members, and 15 abstract paintings by Gorky crashed into a swamp 2 minutes after takeoff, killing everyone on board and destroying the paintings. Arshile Gorky was an Armenian painter who from 1946 suffered a series of tragic events. His studio burnt down, he underwent a colostomy for cancer, leaving him traumatized and also handicapped, and then his wife had an affair with his closest friend, artist Roberto Matta. He broke his neck and his painting arm in a car accident the same week his wife leaves him, taking their children with her. Now left partially paralyzed and alone, surrounded by dozens of paintings he had finished or now could no longer finish, Gorky took his own life in his art studio when he was 44. The artist and his mother is said to be his most haunted piece, the atmosphere around it deeply depressing and nauseating, reportedly leaving viewers and owners in dangerous mindsets. According to Anthony Holslag, a researcher studying the aftermath of Armenian genocides, the painter's work has come to symbolize everything we lost for many Armenian survivors, as well as offering identity and a source of strength. And now, last on our list is Ivan the Terrible and his son Ivan. This is a potent piece of artwork. Look at the disparity, the grandeur. This is a massive painting, insanely detailed and elaborate. The harsh contrast of light and dark with the emphasized jewel tones of the carpet. I could ramble forever. This truly is a masterpiece, especially when looking upon the faces of the Ivans. See, painter Ilya Repin was the most renowned artist of Russia's 19th century for his realism. His position in the art world was comparable to that of Leo Tolstoy in literature. The ways in which he captured expressions, complexion, texture, and detail is remarkable. But that meant Repin had been working a lot, and after constant tiredness, his right arm started hurting. He had to stop working for a while and became deeply depressed as a result. Some people said it happened after he did the famous painting in 1885, rumoring it cursed from harboring too much of his pain, as well as true human emotion in its expressions, to not become its own living entity. While this painting was exhibited in the Tretkavoy Gallery, it had an ununderstandable effect to its visitors. Some of them were getting anxiety attacks or were starting to cry. Some were nauseous and many fled the room that the painting took up. Skeptics say it could be due to its realistic look, as even the blood looks real after all. I think it's Ivan the Terrible's eyes. Another incident is when Abram Balashov, a Russian icon painter, saw the canvas for the first time. He snapped the picture and cut at it while screaming, "Stop the bloodshed." He was sent to a psychiatric care facility after that incident. Then on May 25th of 2018, the painting was attacked and damaged with a metal pole. Igor Podporin, the man who had attacked the painting, specifically came to see Repin's Ivan the Terrible in the gallery. He told the police that he wanted to leave, but then dropped into the buffet and drank 100 grams of vodka. I don't drink vodka, and I became overwhelmed by something. There's also a legend about Repin's models dying. Musogorsky, Pisamsky, Pirogrov, actor Mercy Darzhanto, and even Fedor Titchev died as soon as Repin began to paint their portraits. Even the Prime Minister Stolypin was shot in Kiev after Repin painted his portrait. So maybe in this case, the man is more cursed than the actual art. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe to see our regularly posted content.